Welcome back to the Explainer. All right, today we are talking about building a fortress. But we're not talking bricks and mortar. We're talking about code, policy, and identity, all designed to protect your company's most valuable asset, your data, from the very AI you're putting in place to help your business. And that right there, that's the big question, isn't it? As we go from simple chatbots to a real AI workforce, you're giving these agents access to your most critical systems and data. So how do you make absolutely sure they don't accidentally leak a customer's social security number or confidential employee files? And look, the scale here is just mind-boggling. We're talking about an estimated 1.3 billion AI agents heading into production over the next couple of years. At that scale, the risk of a data leak isn't just a possibility. It's practically a guarantee if you don't have a new kind of defense, a real AI fortress. So how do we start? Well, the very first layer of this fortress is all about identity. You got to give every single AI agent its own unique passport, just like a new employee gets an ID badge on their first day. And the way this works is with something called an intra-agent ID. Now, this is a total game changer, and here's why. It takes an AI from being some anonymous process running in the background and turns it into a known, trackable digital worker. It has a name, a role, and a clear record of everything it does. So what's so powerful about this? Well, once an agent has an ID, you can start applying all your standard security rules. Stuff like role-based access control. Basically, you can say, okay, you're a billing agent, you only get to see billing information, period. This is what we call the principle of least privilege, and it's absolutely critical for making sure an AI can't just wander into, say, HR files and start seeing sensitive PII it has no business looking at. Okay, so we've got a trusted identity locked down. What's next? The next layer is all about communication. We need a really strict rulebook that controls what the AI is allowed to see, what it processes, and maybe most importantly, what it's allowed to say. And that's where content safety filters come into play. So a platform like Foundry comes with these filters built right in. You can configure them to automatically sniff out and block all sorts of harmful content, things like hate speech, violent content, you see the list there. This stuff is just table stakes, the absolute baseline for any responsible AI. But, beyond that general safety stuff, for any business, the real nail-biter is preventing the leak of personally identifiable information, or PII. So what are we talking about when we say PII? Well, you can see it right there. It's the crown jewels. Names, social security numbers, addresses. This is the stuff that, if it gets out, causes those massive headline-grabbing data breaches. Protecting it isn't just a good idea, it's completely non-negotiable. And the tech here is getting incredibly smart. It doesn't just see PII. For instance, a tool like Azure AI Language can literally say, hey, I just found a US social security number, and I'm 95% sure about it. That level of detail lets you build some seriously smart and fine-tuned protection policies. And this rulebook, it's also built tough against attacks. It's got these things called prompt shields that are designed to stop jailbreak attempts. That includes the obvious ones, right, where a user is directly trying to trick the AI, but it also protects against the really sneaky indirect attacks, where a hacker might hide malicious instructions inside a document that the AI is supposed to be analyzing. Okay, let's keep building. We've secured the agent's identity. We've secured what it can say and see. Now we need to protect the very data it's interacting with, your company's own knowledge base. And this is a multi-layer defense in itself. You've got integration with things like Microsoft Purview for your overall data governance. For the super sensitive stuff, there's even a version called Foundry Local that can process data right there on your own servers without ever touching the cloud. And on top of all that, you get these ironclad guarantees around data privacy and where your data lives. And this, right here, this might be the single most important promise for any enterprise. The platform guarantees that your data, your prompts, the AI's answers, is never, ever used to retrain their big models. Your data stays your data, period. That's the cornerstone of trust. All right, so let's pull back and look at the whole fortress from the top. How do you manage all these different layers? The identity, the content rules, the data protection? Well, that's where unified AI governance comes in. This table does a great job of pulling it all together. You see the Foundry control plane at the top? Think of that as your central command center for everything AI. It works with Entra ID, which answers the question, who is this agent? And then it enforces the content safety rules, which answer, what can this agent say? See how they all work together? It's a single cohesive strategy, not just a bunch of separate tools. So the big takeaway here is to think of this as a defense-in-depth system. It's not one single wall. You've got the identity layer, then the content layer, then the infrastructure and data layer, all working in tandem. If one layer somehow gets challenged, the others are right there to back it up. And what's so powerful about this approach is that it's built to scale. The same tight security and governance you put on your very first test agent is the exact same security that applies when you have thousands or even millions of them running across your enterprise. That's how you get consistent protection. So when you build security, identity, and these strict content rulebooks right into the foundation of your AI platform, the whole conversation just changes. You stop asking, can we even trust AI with our data? And you start asking, okay, now that we have a trusted AI, what's the next big business problem we're going to solve with it?